Welcome to the Compost Pile, a podcast where we break down gardening, homesteading, and more. Join your hosts, David Poole and Aaron Barnhill, as they pile up information and break it down so that you can be more successful in the garden.
Hey guys, welcome back to the Compost Pile, your podcast for all things gardening and homesteading. As you can tell, we're in a little bit of a different environment. I couldn't drive to Mid-County Farm and Feed, which is where David Poole, my co-host, came from. He just got right off the truck. Looks like he tossed some bags around and came over here to the station. Welcome back, man. Welcome back.
Welcome back. So,
what are we talking about today?
well, I think we're going to do round two on a topic that me and you already talked about. But it seems we missed our episode this last week because some technical difficulties.
Oh, yeah. Technical difficulties,
So we're going to circle back and try this one more time.
Okay.
We're going to talk about peppers.
Oh, yeah. Let's talk about peppers. That's funny you bring that. That's like my favorite thing to grow.
They're pretty easy, and they're diverse. There's so many options. From just like the things that we all know and love that you can find in the store that you can grow, hot, mild, sweet, melt your face off hot, and then
bell peppers. It's such a versatile thing culinarily. I feel like you're going down that road. It's packed with vitamin C. A lot of people don't know that. It's actually like per ounce, it's got more vitamin C than citrus.
Really?
Yeah, per weight. And my favorite thing about peppers is it's so beginner friendly to grow peppers. They're so forgiving. You know what I mean? Yeah. And they also clearly tell you what they need in a way that some other plants don't do. So
definitely,
the more advanced you get as a gardener, you can start planting more advanced things that don't really give you the signs. But with peppers, when they're thirsty, they wilt, right? When they're getting too much sun, they droop. And it's really easy just to read a pepper.
It is. And one of the things I like about them, too, as an easy crop for a beginner or experienced person is the fact that they're not necessarily treated like an annual, like a lot of other vegetables, like tomatoes. We plant them, they fruit, flower, they do their job, and then when it gets really hot, they just kind of wither away, and then we quit taking care of them, and we start over next season or the next year, depending on what we're growing. But peppers are more like a perennial. They get really woody, and we can keep the same plant for 1, 2, 3 years for long periods of time.
And the peppers get better every year, too. I don't know if it might be a psychosomatic thing, like I just think the peppers taste better, but they do. Like a 3-year pepper plant produces much better peppers, in my opinion.
I think it's interesting because, peppers are not necessarily a super expensive thing to buy in the grocery store.
Right.
But if you set it up right and you're successful and you can keep a plant over and over again, season after season, it's one that really, from a monetary perspective, you get continued value out of. Unlike some people, I could probably buy these tomatoes for less than I spent growing them.
True.
Granted, that defeats the purpose, but I think when you're looking at if you're doing things from a cost savings thing, outlook, that they're long term, they can really provide you an abundant harvest.
They really can. And I feel like they just need less. You know what I mean? I don't really fertilize peppers very often at all.
I don't either.
They just do their thing, man. And they do it in all different qualities of soil. They can be in kind of a lower quality of soil. As long as they're not like retaining water like crazy, they're going to be successful,
Yeah. I mean, and you can grow them in containers.
Yeah.
You can grow them raised beds in the ground. It doesn't really matter. And they're a pretty compact plant, so there are not a lot of barriers to entry. We don't need big, huge stakes and cages.
No, I mean, not really.
We don't need trellises. We just need something for them to grow in, and they do need some kind of support because when they get tall and they start putting on...
They put on the weight
if there's a lot of peppers and the harvest is plentiful, then you're going to have something to support. So small tomato cages are really good. But I mean, overall, it's pretty simple. As long as you have a fairly good soil, I feel.
Yeah.
They're almost carefree, I would say.
Yeah, they are. And going back to kind of the beginner aspect of it too, they're one of my favorite things to put in a container, right? They work so well in a container. They work really well on a patio. And one thing that is really good about that is you can experiment with your placement of that container, right? We already talked about how the pepper lets you know what it needs.
Yep.
So it lets you know when it's getting too much sun or too much shade or not enough water. And you can dial that in and learn a lot of stuff as a beginner gardener just by having some peppers in some containers.
Yeah, and that's the container is also a great way to be able to overwinter them easily.
Absolutely,
and keep that same plant going over and over again for as long as possible.
Yeah, this past winter we had a couple of freezes, and I had like a 4-year habanero plant, and I was like, it'd be fine.
Yeah.
And I didn't bring it in the garage, and sadly I lost that little bugger. But it was very prolific. It would just make habaneros out the yin yang, and that's kind of one thing that really I decide on what peppers I grow and what don't. If it's not a prolific pepper, I really almost don't even have a use for it. So like bell peppers, I'm not growing bell peppers. Never growing them, because I might get like 2 or 3 or 4 bell peppers on my plant that took all season to grow, and I can just get that thing for 75 cents in the grocery. So I kind of factor things like that in.
Yeah, I mean, too, you also have to figure out what varieties might work best for you. You know, like a lot of people are traditionally looking for that like giant bell pepper, you know, the stuffing type bell pepper. You know, people go to the California Wonder, which I think is a poor choice for our area,
for our zone,
where you could be going with like Big Bertha bell peppers. Like there's Keystone Giant, which is an old
I haven't even seen that
variety
one.
that grows a pretty good size bell pepper. And then there's a lot of ones out there that are going to be smaller, you know, like your Gypsy Bells. We grew one. It was like a flamingo bell that Donna's Farms did for us last year. And they were small, but they had a great flavor to them, and they were actually prolific. So from a culinary side of things, where I'm not a huge like pepper eater, but like from cooking, I was able to have plenty. And they were just the right size to grab 1 or 2 and be able to cut them up, use them for what I wanted to get the flavors I wanted, the texture, and not have any waste.
Yeah. Sidebar on this, you can hide peppers really easy and some stuff. So you're not much of a pepper eater, but especially if it's bell peppers or stuff that's not so spicy, like almost a third of my spaghetti sauce when I make spaghetti is just pepper, right? Because I'm blending it in, I'm making a puree. So it's not all tomato. It's I actually use carrot and a lot of peppers, and I bring it to a boil, and I ended up blending that into a puree, and nobody would ever know if there's peppers.
Yeah.
And everyone's like, man, this is so good. This is like the tastiest, spaghetti sauce ever made. I'm like, that's because it's all vegetables. You know, well, fruit technically, but yeah.
That's I'm not a very good cook, so
that's okay. That's all right.
You know, but that's okay.
Yeah.
So
what are some of your favorite peppers? Some of your favorite varieties to grow? Right.
So one that I would say I always will do. We'll have some form of a cayenne pepper.
Okay. Yeah.
Because it's kind of versatile. For cooking with, but it's also versatile for making and drying.
It is really.
You're making like some form of chili powder.
I like the dragon cayenne.
Yeah.
Have you ever used those? They get real long, so you feel like you're getting so much.
We grew purple cayennes last year, and that's probably one of the most prolific. I mean, I could go out there and probably pick 20, 30 at a time, and then, a week or 2 later, I have that many more. They're just absolutely really cool because they're purple. They're a little larger, not a thin variety of cayenne, so more of a thicker variety. And those did probably the best. I put another one into those this year because I was impressed last year.
I'm trying to remember the word, and I feel like a big dummy because I forgot it. But anytime you're growing a fruit or a vegetable that's purple, it has a lot of what's that word? It's got the thing that's healthy in it. Why can't I think of it?
Don't get me.
It's antioxidants. That's it. It's got a lot of antioxidants in it.
There's a lot of vegetables that grow purple.
Yeah, there is. Yeah, and then they're healthy for you. You know what I mean?
That's cool.
Yeah. So, and honestly, I'd like to dry some of those up and then make a purple powder out of it. That sounds really neat, doesn't it? You can just dust your food with a purple cayenne powder.
If you leave them on there too long, they do begin to turn green, and then they will turn red like most peppers will. I'll always grow some form of a jalapeno. I do like to grow. There's a variety. There's a couple of larger varieties that do pretty well here. The Mucho Nacho.
Okay, yeah, I've seen Mucho Nacho.
I'm trialing just a single plant of one that came out this year. Bring the nerdy side out in me. It's the Megatron jalapeno. It's supposed to grow 5 to 6 inches. You know?
Wow, yeah.
I don't know where.
So it's but that's like a real stuffing pepper almost. Like you can make some killer jalapeno poppers with that, right?
That's what they say. You know.
Yeah.
I don't know what they do with
I like the mammoth jalapeno too, just because it's really prolific. You know, because you'll be breaking branches with a mammoth jalapeno.
Yeah.
So, but yeah.
Other than I'm trying to think of there's another one that we get that I like to grow because when cooking for kids, like spice is not always the thing. But there's a variety of jalapeno that's escaping my mind that has absolutely no heat. You get all the flavor profile, but no heat to it.
Is it a jalapeno?
Yes.
Yeah, it's like the chili jalapeno. It's like
I can't remember the name.
But like chili ice. I've heard of that one.
The name will come to me when we're done.
Yeah, of course it will. Yeah.
You know,
I also love good hotter pepper too.
Yeah. So
some of the chilies that are always more squat looking, right? That's kind of indicative of hot. And you have your scorpion peppers, which to me are too hot, so I don't grow those. And you have your habaneros, which used to be my go-to. It has a very unique flavor, and it's also really easy to grow. But lately, I've been just growing Scotch bonnets.
Yep, I got an orange Scotch bonnet this year.
Yeah, and those things just impressed they just super impressed me last year because through all the chills and the freezes, they were still making peppers. So they can handle really hot in the summer, and they can handle a lot of actually really cold temperatures.
Yeah.
Yeah.
You know, I think like when you're growing peppers, as we move into the hotter temperatures, unlike your tomatoes, they're going to grow longer into the season, but eventually you're going to reach that point where it's too hot and they're going to stop setting fruit.
Yeah, yeah.
You know, but that doesn't mean that you should neglect the plant or give up on it like you would a tomato or some of your more like really green stemmed plants.
Yeah,
you know,
when it's over for tomatoes, it's just over.
Yeah, because if you keep it going and you keep it healthy, come fall time when the temperatures drop down again, it's going to be one of the first things to start setting blooms over everything else, and then you're right back in the game.
And it will lose all of its leaves over winter, and it will just come right back. You'll be like, what's this dead twig in this pot? And if you treat it right, it's going to come right back. Going to come right back to life.
I mean, care-wise, I don't really think you need to do a whole lot. You know, so we keep saying that it's easy.
Yeah.
You know, if you're just following like general practices, general fertilization with a good quality, like slow release, organic, maybe some compost. You could do a little bit of liquid fertilizer supplementation as your plant grows. Just basic regiments, then you should be fine.
I want to make sure that everybody knows what I'm saying so they don't miscategorize me. I think peppers are the most beginner-friendly plant, but that doesn't mean they can be neglected, like you're saying. No. It's not a Pathos ivy. It's not just going to live in a closet for 2 weeks. You know, you do have to actually take care of its needs, and they're really fast changing. So one of the best parts about them that I said was how quickly they let you know when something's going on. But you have to address that, right? Yeah. So if you go outside and it's a killer hot day and your plant's just almost on the floor, you got to give it water. If you don't, it's going to die. Yeah. But you can see it though, right? And you can make the changes that it needs, and it'll teach you a lot about taking care of plants.
And if you pay attention to the different varieties and the heat level, and not to say that this is factual for every variety out there, but I tend to find that the bell peppers and some of the milder peppers, sweet peppers, tend to be a little more thirsty than,
I've seen that too.
your really, really hot varieties. Because I can go long periods of time without watering some of the hotter peppers and almost sometimes just forget about them, and they're still looking really good. Yeah. But last year we grew probably 3 or 4 of those flamingo bells, and we had plenty, but I couldn't keep them hydrated enough when it got into the hot part of summer. Yeah. And then, unlike a lot of my other peppers that did make it through summer and started producing, those just never seemed to get enough water, and they struggled all through summer. And when fall came, I eventually just chopped them and I moved on to something else.
And that's kind of why I don't really even grow bell peppers, right? So it can be more difficult, and there comes a time where if something isn't worth the aggravation, I just take it out. Just take it out of the. And I think one reason why they're so thirsty is because if you look at the vegetative structure of both of these things, let's take a cayenne for instance. It has long, very thin leaves, right? So it's not respiring as much. It's not letting in and out,
That makes sense.
water, and gas is not breathing, right? It's not respiring. But bell peppers have broader, thicker leaves. They're more green. They have more, they have more cellulose in them, or whatever. I'm just forgetting about it. But they do need more, right? They're a much more substantial and complicated plant. So you have to take that in, you have to factor that in. So if you want something super easy that you neglect, get some cayennes, because I'll let weeds grow up around them. You know what I mean? They're like just fighting for their lives and still producing peppers all the time.
Over and over again?
Over and over, yeah. You'll separate the grass out and be like, dang, look at all those red peppers. Yeah.
So let's talk about maybe some issues that might come up with peppers.
Okay. Yeah.
So I think one of the most common issues people see with peppers are going to be aphids.
Okay, yeah.
So your tomatoes are not typically susceptible to aphids, or you very rarely see them on there. But peppers, they remind me very much like growing season wise, like when I think about like hibiscus that I have, when they get stressed and it gets really hot, they start sucking up more nutrients. They get stressed. They're trying to, just survive, and they become targets really, really quickly for aphids.
And what are the aphids looking for? Like, what are they trying to eat?
Sugars.
Sugars, okay.
So they're feeding on like simple sugar chains in the plant. And ideally, if, everything is perfectly right and all the variables are good, most plants are going to create like a complex sugar chain.
Okay.
And
oh, wow.
they might not be able to use like sugars that have a higher Brix level versus some that are lower.
Yeah.
And so pests like aphids, whiteflies, mealybugs, that people are accustomed to as common pests in a garden or even in a landscape, they target plants. And most of the time when you look at them, this plant is stressed in some kind of way, whether it's watering stress,
it looks like it's
drought
struggling.
stress.
Yeah.
And sometimes when you first see it, it's the indications are not as prominent. So like you're looking at it and it looks fine. We'll get plants from the nurseries, like in the packs
ready
or the
to be
4-inch.
transplanted, right?
Yeah, and sometimes we'll get aphids on those, but you think about like they're watering these every day.
Right.
They're feeding them, on a regular basis.
They're probably in a giant greenhouse.
But the factors are washing nutrients out. The plants might be stressed. Maybe they're getting too tall for the container they're in, so they're becoming quick targets. And whenever you have a lot of one thing in one place,
like a monocrop.
Then boom, there you are. The pest found its home, and then in those kinds of environments, they're they can reproduce quickly. It's hard to get rid of them all. In a home garden, the same thing applies, but on a much smaller scale. Those insects are looking for what they need to feed, and most of the time, it's a plant that's not perfectly healthy. It might look great on the outside, but it's not 100% up to par.
It's got something going under the hood, like my truck.
And whenever I see those, my first recommendation for people is, just talking about what are you doing for fertilizer? Is it in a container? Is it in a raised bed? Like, what are the environmental variables that we're trying to control? And how can we adjust some of those things to make the plant less stressed? And then are we supplementing enough? Because if we're in a container, like so we like peppers in containers, we're probably going to need to feed more because we're going to water more. Because we've talked about this in the past. The containers are going to dry out faster.
They're out of the ground. They're not in the ground.
And water works its way down, excess water and out the pot. So you got to think about those things and make sure you're keeping them well fed. Especially if you're doing containers, I would always try, if I can, stay on a regimen of feeding at least with a liquid every 2 weeks.
Yeah, and there's some things you can do about that too. You can buy ladybugs.
Yeah.
There's all kinds of natural ways to get rid of aphids.
I will say, though, if you're going to buy ladybugs, people always complain about ladybugs. So they buy them, they want to put them out, and then they all just disappear. It's like if there's no
food.
If there's no food, if there's no shelter, and if there's no, like, moisture or water sources, it's just like anything else. They're looking for a home.
They're going to go find it,
And often, too, like ladybugs, they'll release all of them at one time. You have to do a little bit at a time.
Right.
And you got to do it at nighttime.
Oh, I didn't know that. You got to do it at nighttime.
It's night or evening time, if I remember correctly. It's been a while since I've done this. But you have to you got to do it right
Yeah.
in order to give yourself the best chance to have that natural pest control. But if you have, some of the things we've talked about in previous episodes, diversity, herbs, and you're creating your own little ecosystem.
Yeah.
We've had ladybugs this last season finally come naturally, not just one, but in abundance, and eating up the aphids. And it was like, that was cool to see it happen, where it was like I didn't have to instigate
you didn't
this.
have to externally bring these insects
and then
here.
whenever when the pest problem was gone, the ladybugs moved on. And
because it's a balance, right?
exactly.
Nature kind of, it takes care of itself, right? Without us needing it. That's an interesting problem. I know another one from my experience with growing peppers is that almost every pepper I've ever seen or grown likes well-draining soil. Peppers don't like wet feet. They don't like it. You know what I mean? It's probably because of where they come from, where they originally were grown, has a loamy, kind of sandy, but they don't like wet feet. So if you're putting them in the ground, you have to be conscious of that because we have a lot of clay around here, right? So you got to really amend the hole.
Yeah, you want to make sure you got, with anything, you want moisture retention.
Right.
But you want, even moisture, and you want excess moisture to get out of there, because most things in the garden are not going to like to sit in water.
Yeah, and that's almost everything, right? There's a lot of plants that grow in water, and they're fine with that. But having just sitting water in the bottom of your pot is creating an anaerobic environment, right? It's keeping all the oxygen out. So it's leading to root rot and all kinds of other stuff, and it'd take a pepper down pretty quick.
Yeah.
And it will be to where in a couple days you can see a pepper looking really good, and then it falls over and it wilts, and you're like, oh, my pepper's thirsty, or it's not getting enough sunlight. No, it's drowned, and you're not bringing it back.
If you have too damp of an environment, you could also open yourself up for diseases. The nightshade family is typically susceptible to blight.
Right.
So just like tomatoes, peppers can get blight. So when you're planting them, no matter what you're planting them in, it's never a good or never a bad idea to trim off like really low lying branches or leaves, allowing some airflow. Right. Because one of the things that normally gets disease going is like humidity.
Yeah,
we got plenty of that.
Like powdery mildew and all that.
And you get a lot of moisture up underneath, and you start watering, and soil splashes from the ground or the bed onto the leaves, and then you get those pathogens. And then as rain, and if you're overhead watering, which we advise against for this exact reason, you can be spreading different diseases like blight from leaf to leaf by doing so. So it's always good to, you could do a little pruning, you don't have to let it be totally wild. You can get rid of some of those lower leaves, lower branches. Even when it's young, it's okay. You'll promote it to grow upward and put its energy. And I really like to do that.
And you can top it too. You can top them. You can top them. They're such a malleable plant. You can almost bonsai them if you want. But you can top them, and just with any plant like that, a lot of nightshades you can. When you top them, it'll grow too. Yep. And you're encouraging the growth of new branches. So.
Yeah, because especially like some peppers, they can get kind of tall and leggy, depending on how if you just let them grow wild. So I like to kind of prune on them a little bit, try to keep them compact, limit how many branches I have, so that I've got not less foliage, but I've got enough foliage with less fruiting branches so that I get bigger, better quality fruit instead of a bunch of little, depending on the type and what I'm doing.
Right.
A lot of times the hotter peppers tend to be a little more bushy. Than,
they're
a lot more compact.
Yeah, and they got a lot of branches. They're doing the most.
Yep.
It's more weight. It doesn't seem like it, but they're producing more. And they're a more compact pepper, whereas a bell pepper's full of air, right? And a jalapeno doesn't have nearly as much air. It's thick-walled, and they have to make quite a bit of branches for those things.
So from something outside of my expertise area, what are some of the different ways that we can use peppers?
So I already described like kind of hiding vegetables and stuff, so you can stew down peppers really well in a tomato sauce or really anything. Living in Texas, I'd say our most popular way of eating peppers is salsa or pico, right? Pico de gallo or salsa. That's one thing I love is just making a salsa garden and planting tomatoes and cilantro and peppers in the same bed. So when you do that, if you're a beginner and you plant those 3 things in the same bed and then harvest your ingredients and make a salsa, you're going to be hooked, right? You really will. You'll be hooked. So blending, right? You can blend them up with salsa. Also, sriracha, making salsas. A lot of people don't even realize that sriracha only has like 5 ingredients, right?
Okay.
It's the number 1 ingredient is water, and then you have red jalapeno. It's not a fancy pepper at all. Sriracha is jalapenos that people have let go red, oil, sugar, salt. I think that's it. And then you can get into even more advanced sauces like that and do lacto fermentation and do like a Tabasco sauce.
I know several people that ferment pepper sauce, which is cool. Then I guess too you can also
and pickle peppers too.
Yeah, pickles. Yeah,
peppers are my favorite fruit or vegetable to pickle. Pickled cucumbers are okay. I don't really like pickled cucumbers or what everyone just calls pickles. Pickled peppers, way better. Way better.
Okay. And then you can obviously just saute them and cook them.
My favorite pepper just to basically just saute and eat with a little salt on it is the shishito.
Okay.
The shishito pepper, fantastic pepper.
Grew some of those.
It's so good. You just saute it up in a little pan, and you're good to go eat it. I think a lot of fancy restaurants nowadays just have pan-seared shishitos on an appetizer menu, like it's something fancy.
It's interesting.
Yeah, but there's a whole world out there. You can stuff them like your traditional like 1950s, meatloaf stuffed bell pepper, pepper popper, right? Like we were talking about. Put a little cream cheese and a jalapeno. Do it like that.
Wrap it in some bacon.
It's probably, of everything that I enjoy growing, it is the most versatile. So you're really getting a lot out of it. When you're a beginner and you're planting something, it's cool to grow an eggplant. There's not a whole lot to do with eggplant, right? It's cool to grow zucchini, Yeah. You're not doing a whole lot with it. But with peppers, you're getting the most bang for your buck. You're like using it all, and it's your gateway into so many things. It's your gateway into sauce making. It's your gateway into preserving and canning and pickling.
You can also dehydrate them. Yeah,
that's the other part
like
too. Yeah,
making powders, spice mixes. So that's something I'm really interested in.
Yeah.
Hopefully we're gonna get a dehydrator at the office space here pretty soon as we finish up the kitchen.
Yeah.
And
there's more than you don't have to just blast it into a powder too. You can keep them as nice little.
Yep.
You can smoke them. Most peppers have 2 different names, and one name is for the pepper and it's unsmoked, and then they have a different name for it, like the chipotle. The chipotle is just a smoked jalapeno.
Okay.
That's it. The ancho, right? The ancho is just a smoked poblano. I'm trying to think of all of them, but they all have a smoked variety.
That's cool.
So yeah, there's so many different ways you can do that.
All right.
Yeah.
So is there anything about peppers that we haven't covered?
I don't think so. All that's left to be said is now is a good time to start planting them. It's too late to start them from seed.
Yep.
Right? So you need to go somewhere like Mid-County Farm and Feed and get some ready to be planted in the ground, little transplants. And have fun with it, man. Get you a bunch of different varieties.
Yeah.
Because they all need basically the same thing, except for bell peppers, like we said. But just have fun with it, and I promise you, it's going to be rewarding, and you're going to get to enjoy the fruits of your labor.
Absolutely.
Yeah. Well, I think that's about all we're going to say about peppers. I've had fun talking about one of my favorite plants to grow, one of the easiest plants to grow, and the most delicious fruit to eat. So we'll see you guys back here next time.